are some things that you've learned through that first part of your journey working with Tom Rhodes and his firm that has served you well?
Attention to detail is important, but also Tom used to say, just keep swimming. Just sort of roll. Don't let things set you off track. Just continue to push forward. We will have setbacks, but just keep pushing forward. And so that's what I've tried to do. Just keep a forward progressing momentum.
I think that's so important because we all have ups and downs during a lawsuit. I mean, very rarely do you have a case where you win every single hearing, every deposition goes perfectly, every moment in the trial is exactly the way you dreamt that it would be. Typically, the other side gets to play too, and they don't just lay on their back and give up; they fight back. Exactly. And I think that learning how to not give up and keep going, knowing that we're hitting them too,
yes,
is so important.
I like our case valuation roundtables that we have. I think it's important to hear different people's perspectives on a case and the value that they think a case either has or doesn't have. And so that then when we go into a mediation or a negotiation, we've already heard people's varying opinions on it. So it just allows us to come in with a more prepared mindset to counter other arguments or just to know how to deal with issues before they're presented to the clients too, so that we can already diffuse any issues that may come up during the mediation that might sidetrack us or our clients.
Yeah, and just for the listeners, the J.J. Keller training, J.J. Keller is a company that provides safety and training material and literature to companies, and they have a jjkellertraining.com as one where we just had all of our lawyers go through the video training series that truck drivers should go through in a reasonably prudent company so that we'd be armed with a better feel for what the rules are. It's one thing to try to look stuff up. It's another to, just get the kind of training that we're supposed to have. And then you've mentioned our round tables. How often do we have those and how do those work? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm just wanting you to.
Yeah. So we have a round table each week for an hour during the lunch hour. People present cases. We are usually provided information in advance about the cases so we can do a little bit of research about the case and provide information about the medical bills and the injuries and the liability, everything that you would have on the table to consider at a mediation. Then we present our case to the other members of the firm, and we talk about what value we believe it has and go from there. You had asked about educational offerings that the firm has provided that have helped create more confidence in me. The Big Rig boot camps that you offer are also very, very useful and educational. I think that's really important. And also, our firm continuing education opportunities that we have weekly, I think those are really important, where you would present to us different issues that we can anticipate. And I found those very helpful in, responding to motions and, just really equipping us with the tools that we need to be the lawyers that we want to be.
Yeah, I realized about 3-4 years ago that we were holding defendants to a standard as far as training and accountability that we weren't meeting ourselves, and decided we needed to try to change that. So we started doing our Friday trainings, the case valuation roundtable. Actually, that's an idea that Tim Mackey from Vista Consulting, another former podcast guest, gave me years ago, and I just never implemented it until a couple of years ago. And a lot of times you hear it and you're not ready for it yet. Like you get this great advice, but you're not at your point in your life or your career where you can take that advice yet. Mm-hmm. And like my wife, I'm glad I met my wife when I met her. If I had met her 5 years earlier, it probably wouldn't have dated me, actually.
My husband says that about me, that had I known him in his younger years, I would not have dated him.
That's what I'm saying. So, and the same with laws, that we have to be at a point, there's progression, there's steps, and we have to sometimes just put something in the parking lot until we're ready to use it. Mm-hmm. You can't do everything at once. I mean, we've been through a lot of ups and downs at this firm to try to get where we are, and we're still not perfect. So one thing I'm awful at is keeping everything organized, follow up. You're really good at just keeping things going, not letting them fall through the cracks. How do you do that?
Well, I try to do that as best as I can. I do make notes for myself. I do each day write down the things that I need to get accomplished that day, and I take joy in crossing them off the list. But I also have a dry erase board where I put relevant deadlines, expert deadlines, mediation deadlines, discovery deadlines, things that I need to be sure to get accomplished. And so I have my, short-term goals and then my long-term goals. And so I think that keeps me oriented and moving forward, with my day, but also with my week and the goals in the long run.
It is interesting, even with all the computerized reminders we get, there's just something about having that visual where we can see it all the time and not that it pops up from time to time as a reminder really helps.
There really is, because I am an out of sight, out of mind person. So that's why I have to have things written down. I have to have the list, and it commits it to memory more for me to keep me focused on what the goals are that I need to accomplish that day.
If you don't think about 90 days before trial, who can show up? Do I need to make any exhibits? Do I need to do a trial deposition to somebody? When are you going to do it? When it's too late? When you're going to be panicked? And, we don't make the panicked brain or the stressed out brain does not make good decisions. The panicked brain or the stressed out brain is not the best at being kind, loving, and respectful to those around us. There's something about just having that little bit of discipline, even if those of us where it doesn't come natural, and just realizing that, yes, it is a little bit of pain now, but it's going to save me from a lot of pain later.
That's right. Yeah. And I know some, firms may have, litigation team meetings or, to prepare for trial, but, this is another way to do it. And so it's whether you do it in a report or whether you do it in a litigation team meeting, it really has to happen.
Like I said, I work a Saturday when I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer view it as a badge of honor. Oh, I worked past midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I'm going to work past midnight tonight. And what I'm thinking is, you dumbass, you should have started prep a little earlier for this depot you have tomorrow, and then you wouldn't be having to work so late tonight. Now, the other difference is I am still going to go home in a decent hour. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to have dinner with my family. I'm going to put my son to bed, and then I'm going to get back to work. Instead of staying here till like 10 or 11 and then, feeling like the bad father and not taking care of myself, I'm going to find that balance. But, and most of the time it is a little self-imposed, but sometimes, I'm going to have to work really late tonight because I wanted to take last weekend off. And how do I know one thing I struggle with is balancing being a parent, being a spouse, and being a lawyer, and I'm trying to do all three at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be a really good lawyer, but I don't want to be a bad dad or a bad husband to be a good lawyer.
Right.
What are some things you found that have helped, or maybe you haven't? I have no idea.
Yeah, no. I think it's an ongoing process that we as lawyers and people and parents have. I think it changes with your kids and your kids' needs, based on where they are, and also with your spouse and your spouse's needs. One of the things that I liked about my spouse, that my spouse and I have in common, is that we both are hard workers and we enjoy doing a good job and we enjoy being proud of the work that we do. And so we have that commonality. Even he's not a lawyer, but we have that same value. And so in that way, it's easier for us to know where the other one is coming from when we do have to work late hours. So the other one picks up the slack, with the kids and whatnot. But also it makes me want to be more hands-on, because when I'm not in trial or not working on a deadline, then I need to have some time with the kids too, so that my spouse can do what he needs to do.
Right.
And so I think it's just, continuing to monitor, sort of, so to speak, and assess, what your kids need, what your spouse needs, and what you need. Because, if you run yourself ragged and not taking care of yourself, that will catch up with you also. So I think it's, a balancing of all of those.
Absolutely.